Christmas.
It is.
And it's the Wrong Side of the Pond podcast. I'm Jeremy Lance. He's DJ Schweitzer.
Episode 19.
We're just trucking along.
We really are.
It is the eve of the eve. It is the 23rd. Something tells me by the time this podcast is done recording, it's going to be Christmas Eve.
It probably will be. It's a late one for us tonight.
We got a little late start because of some things going on here at the station. Couldn't get in here when we wanted to. We also had to pre-record our interview with our guest that we will have for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Chad Hollingsworth from RecklessChallenge.net.
He's a big Dayton Dutch Lions guy.
Yeah, and a lot of news coming out with them. Obviously, they are now linked up with the Columbus Crew.
Yeah, so we'll talk to Chad a little bit about that. We'll also go through our normal dash through the weekend's Premier League action, some of which actually wrapped up this day, so this week.
Yeah, well, that's the reason we are recording here on Monday night, the 23rd, is because the big match of the weekend, of the EPL weekend, was this afternoon.
Yeah, at least that's how they build it.
Well, it was the ramifications of the match
were large.
Okay. And still, I guess they really still weren't large because the draw wasn't really solidifying much of anything.
Well, it made some things happen in the table.
Oh, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Especially the tightness.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 points between five?
Yeah.
5 clubs?
So.
Wow. The match sucked balls. It was pretty unwatchable, though.
It really was. It was bad.
It was bad. We'll get into that. Also, more bad for Chelsea and for your Spurs. Capital One Cup.
Just pile on the misery.
Yeah, our boys get knocked out of there. Manchester derby looms for the final. We'll take a passing glance at that. The bourbon's already kicking in.
It really is. So
we got eggnog.
We do have eggnog. For the second straight week, Jeremy is trying to pacify all of the drama that's happening around my Tottenham Hotspurs with alcohol.
You know what they say always is a good idea to have with booze?
What's that?
A liquid that can curdle very easily.
No.
And we have it here with this eggnog.
Yeah, it's delicious. It's delicious. Tasty.
Creamy.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a little MLS roundup, a few little nuggets. Obviously a big player move and a couple guys dropping hints.
Yeah.
So we'll take a look at that. Let's start, though, EPL, and, they're on top now, so I guess we got to start with them.
We will, and if we don't, we'll hear about it.
Yeah, we'll hear about it. Liverpool 3, Cardiff City, Uno.
Mm-hmm.
Suarez with a brace. He's at 19. We'll get to that list in a moment. A
lot of other storylines around this match, too.
So much going on. Just storylines within storylines. You have, obviously, Vincent Tan coming out midweek. Basically, did you write him a letter?
It was an email.
Oh, that's good. That's nice and personable.
Yeah, the best way to alert your manager that he is either going to be fired
or he can resign
is to do so by email. So professionalism from a man who we know to wear his jersey over top of his suit and tie.
I'm surprised he didn't Snapchat that information.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was looming that, is this the last week we were going to see Malky Mackay on the sidelines there in Cardiff?
So this is something that's been brewing for a really long time in Cardiff. Vincent Tan, clearly a brilliant businessman, but really has no clue how to run a football club.
Yeah, airplanes and football clubs apparently different.
Yes, very, very. And Tan and Mackay have been at odds for a majority of the season. Rumors of Tan calling down changes during the match, asking for not only subs but tactical adjustments.
But, we kind of got the first glimpse, kind of the iceberg, if you will, of what was really happening behind the scenes between the two. When they beat City and Tan kind of went pitch invader and just kind of rolled out there and was glad-handed and high-fiving and
acting like he had done something down on the pitch.
But the exchange with him and Malky Mackay, if you blinked, you would have missed it.
Mm-hmm.
It was brief and icy.
Yes, it was. One of those fleeting glances that tells someone, if they're observant enough to know, that you don't belong here.
Yeah, Malky Mackay went to the Bill Belichick school of shaking hands after a game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when it came to Vincent Tan, it was quick and there was no eye contact.
No.
So that was brewing. We knew this was happening, that they were not seeing eye to eye. Obviously, you had Vincent Tan hiring children as scouts.
Yeah.
Just horrible business decisions.
Yeah, all around, Tan has been grating to not only the club but also the entire fan base. And this is something that we're kind of seeing more and more in the league. We've talked about Hall City and their name changes and all the color changes and logo changes.
I mean, theirs is all just in the paperwork right now. I mean, this is
real live stuff.
We have the Bluebirds that now are Red Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to cause some problems, and it has. And so the fans have never been a big Vincent Tan fan.
Yeah. It was unavoidable. You had to go with that. I
wanted to avoid it, so I was like, there's got to be another word.
No, it's the only way to go.
So we knew this was happening, and it was interesting that the man that spoke up and said, this man's an idiot and knows nothing about football, was the guy on the other side of that touchline there.
Mm-hmm.
Was Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seemed like the entire footballing world came to Malky Mackay's defense in this situation.
How could you not?
There was, I mean, you absolutely had to almost, but it was very bleeding heart. Like everyone was out to defend Malky, and we don't know the entire story, but it seems pretty obvious that Tan is stepping into matters that he really shouldn't be.
Micromanaging what he doesn't know.
Exactly. So that was the underwriting theme. Everyone kind of went into the match thinking this was going to be Malky's last game in charge.
Oh, absolutely.
And as it turns out, despite the loss, they've reconciled?
Yeah, I think they were meeting today.
Possibly.
Today or tomorrow they plan on meeting to salvage their tattered relationship. I tweeted out. I mean, we all thought he was gone.
Right.
I even tweeted out a photo of the embrace, the post-match embrace with Rodgers and Mackay, and I was like, boy, what do you say to a guy who you just drove the final nail into his coffin?
Right. Well, luckily he didn't have to say anything because the nail never came.
The nail never came. He's still here as of this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Something tells me with Vincent Tan
that's going to be a temporary. Temporary fix.
It's not the last we've seen of said resign or be fired.
Yeah. So, but on to the football that happened in that match.
There was football.
There was.
Suarez had a brace.
Yeah.
2 spectacular goals.
I mean, that's what he does anymore. Someone, I actually missed the first few minutes of the game, and someone tweeted at me.
I did.
Was it you?
And I was one of them.
Yeah, there were multiple people that said, well, you've missed 2 spectacular Suarez goals. Well, that happens pretty much any time the guy plays.
You had, you had your choice. You either had the volley that he just crushed, or you had him just curl one right past the keeper.
So
take your choice of what your flavor is.
Yeah, they were both delicious. So you're really not making a wrong choice.
Brings him to 19 goals, by the way.
Yeah. So let's talk about your 19 goals, because this has been a running theme here. Jeremy has his paper list out of teams that have scored less than Luis Suarez in the Premiership.
It's the Suarez greater than list.
Yes.
It's a lengthy list.
It's getting longer by the week.
Again, 19 goals. Crystal Palace, 11 goals. Sunderland, 12 goals. Cardiff, 13 goals. Hull City, 14. West Ham, 14. Norwich, 15. Villa, 17. Fulham, 17. Stoke, 17. Spurs, 18.
Hey, we're trying to keep pace with them.
West Brom, 18. If you did not do the math right there, that is 11 clubs.
That's a lot of clubs.
11 clubs with less goals than one man.
So, I'm no math major here, but Luis Suarez could be his own team in the Premiership and would finish mid-table all on his own.
Yeah, mid-table team.
Yeah. So this is a discussion that needs to happen. First off, the bigger news that may have come out of this entire situation is Suarez did go on to sign a new contract with Liverpool this week.
Absolutely, yeah.
Lots of speculation that despite his good form, that Liverpool may try to actually cash in on him. Maybe get rid of someone who could be at times a bad apple within the squad. But he's sticking around through 2018 for 200,000 pounds a week.
It's a good chunk of change.
It is.
It's interesting because we saw, Gareth Bale goes for this large amount. Tottenham cashed in.
Mm-hmm.
They cashed in.
They did.
And they went out and they spent like crazy on a bazillion players.
Yeah, what was the phrase they used? Sold Elvis and bought the Beatles.
Yeah.
If the Beatles were like a really shitty band.
They got the Ruddles.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, it sucked.
But Suarez, Liverpool stuck to their guns and held him in the club. And obviously that's worked out well for him.
Yeah.
So he's got these 19 goals, 10 of which have come in December. That's the most goals that have ever been scored in a single month in the Premier League. So chew on that one.
And he still has one more match.
Yeah.
2 more matches.
Yeah, two more matches before the month is over. So that number is going to increase. Let's really not question that. He also missed 5 games at the beginning of the season. So on his current pace right now, he could potentially be sitting somewhere at like 24 goals or 23 even.
Yeah.
A ridiculous number of goals in the first half of the season. I think it's very likely that we could see someone, one, be possibly the best striker on the planet at the moment, and 2, break a long-standing Premier League goals tally for an entire season, which was set by Alan Shearer a couple of years back. So kind of big implication things that are happening with Suarez.
Let's say he did have 23 goals, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He'd only be beaten by about 6 Premier League sides right now as far as goals.
Yeah. One man.
Yeah. One
single man.
I
think before we get on from his contract signing, I think one of the best parts about this new contract that he signed, did you see the pictures that were circulating of his celebration preparations for his new contract?
Yes, I did. I'm so glad you brought this up because it was one of the things midweek when I saw this. I was like, oh, we got to talk about this on the pod, and I didn't make it on the notes. On the notes.
Yeah, so if you didn't see it, Suarez was caught by some lucky fan
at a Costco.
At a Costco,
which I didn't know they had those outside of the U.S.
Hey man, globalization. So he was at Costco picking up refreshments for a party that he was clearly throwing for himself to celebrate his ridiculous new richness. He picked up a boatload of some not so great beer. Not bad, but Corona Extra.
It was, you say a boatload, it was literally an entire Costco-sized shopping cart, because those are very large shopping carts, full.
Yep. So a lot of that, I don't know if Corona is popular down in Uruguay or not. I can't imagine they have a large selection of, Latin American beers on tap. I didn't realize
Corona was that readily available in the UK.
I think it's available everywhere. It's kind of like Heineken.
Should it be
just available? Get it?
Oh, Heineken's like...
It's everywhere.
My goodness.
Yeah. The funnier part of all that, while it's funny seeing Suarez push around a grocery cart full of beer, which is funny in its own right, was seeing Coutinho checking out in front of Suarez.
Okay, so Suarez has Coronas. Mm-hmm. That's kind of,
Okay, I can see that. A lot of people like to drink that at parties.
Yeah, I mean, you and me, we're kind of beer dorks.
Yeah.
So, we'd
have better selections that we would
go
make.
For craft beer. I don't know what you're getting at a Costco that's going to be that high quality. But Coutinho,
his choice was beyond questionable.
Was it a bunch of Smirnoffs, right?
Yeah, it was Smirnoff Ice.
Oh.
So he was picking up girl drinks.
I won't even, my wife drinks those. I won't even go to the store and buy it for her because I don't want anyone seeing me with that in my hand.
Yeah, it's worse than buying tampons.
Yeah, I would gladly go buy her some tampons. I'm not buying her.
Yeah, I'm not going to be caught holding this. The only thing that we can hope is that he had designs on icing everyone at the party.
So if he had Corona, Coutinho had Smirnoff Ice, does that mean that right behind them in line, Stevie G had some Zima?
Probably. The odd thing is I know that
a crate of Zima?
There's only one place in the world that you can get Zima anymore. And it's odd that I know this.
Okay.
It's Japan.
Really?
Yeah, Zima is no longer available anywhere else.
But it's still kicking it in Japan.
But Japan, it's still popular. Japan likes weird crap, so.
That is true.
Yeah.
But
But a huge game from Suarez.
I do have to say this, though. Hey, Liverpool fan, you mind acting like you've been there before?
No.
I feel like right after they won the match, and they were, technically, because Arsenal didn't play till today, they were top of the table.
Right.
So many Liverpool fans, famous ones, people I know, people I don't know, just geeking it, just freaking out, like, oh, this is so awesome. We're in first place.
It's like they forgot that they were there at the beginning of the season, too.
Yeah.
So the excitement is really just boiled back over.
It was just like, this is a fan base of a club with some of the richest history
in English football.
In English football.
Mm-hmm.
And yet their fans, not even just U.S. fans, their fans in general were just had boners.
Yeah, they really did.
Just had soccer boners.
The thing you have to keep in mind, though, is for a majority of the fans out there, younger fans in particular, as far as Premier League glory goes, they haven't had much of it in about 2 decades.
Yeah.
So, a lot of younger fans can lean on the incredible Champions League victory that they had, in Istanbul a few years back.
Sure.
Fabulous come from behind victory over AC Milan, but they haven't seen a whole lot of glory. So I understand, them. They've had a couple down years, but
right.
I agree with you. Just chill out, guys.
Yeah. Pump the brakes. During the 2 decades you were talking about that things hadn't gone so well, they have been top of the table on Christmas Day. And it has not gone well any of those times.
Oh, man, come on.
They have flamed out.
Football fans only have memory that goes back about, 6 months?
Yeah.
So they've forgotten about all of that.
No. A match we do want to forget about, Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle 3. Newcastle just trugging along. Just doing their thing.
Yep. They'll lose another one here shortly.
Yeah, but, I was talking about it with a buddy of mine. We were actually, it's my buddy Dave, who's an Arsenal supporter. We were talking about the Chelsea-Arsenal match, and, he was kind of like, oh, man, we really need to get these points. I was like, it's not always, I don't feel like it's really about the matches against the big clubs that matter at the end. I think it's about winning the games you're supposed to win.
Yeah.
And for Newcastle, that's what they're doing right now.
As of right now.
As of right now.
I do think something that's worth pointing out about Newcastle right now is they're winning these matches, but all these goals are coming from their defenders and midfielders, and they've had a really cold streak with their strikers. And this is something that's kind of been a repetitive theme under Pardew with them. Demba Ba was sold off, but he was going cold before he was sold, and he's clearly gotten even colder while he's been with Chelsea.
Yeah, well, it's when you're not playing that.
Mm-hmm. Papi Cisse, someone who did really well when he first showed up a couple transfer windows ago, has also kind of lost his scoring boots. And then Loic Remy, someone that they picked up just this own window on loan from QPR, also 5 games without a goal. So something's going on as far as what they're doing with their strikers, kind of bringing them to light and then slowly extinguishing them.
It's the Chelsea way.
Yeah, exactly.
Fulham 2, Manchester City 4. This was a shaky match for City.
It really was.
Once again, on the road, City looking vulnerable. This was a match that became a 2-2 stalemate due to just beautiful, just Picasso-like own goal from Vincent Kompany.
It really, he couldn't do that again if he tried to.
Yeah.
So to try to paint the picture, there was a ball in from the right side. Kompany was in the middle, as you would expect from a center back. And he takes a pretty big swing at this ball coming in with his left foot, and absolutely sliced the ball. Where as he was trying to volley it forward, it went up and backwards into the side netting on the back side of the post. Like legitimately impossible to do if you were trying to do it.
Yeah, which he was not, obviously, because it was an own goal. He wasn't trying to do that.
No, he definitely wasn't.
Oh boy, he did.
So that canceled out his earlier strike just a few minutes before that.
Yeah. An own goal that is not on the shoulders of Joe Hart.
for once, that guy can count his
Not
lucky
your
stars.
fault.
Yeah.
Not your fault, buddy.
That wasn't your doing there, Joe. He was back in goal, by the way, for a Premier League fixture, which was kind of big news.
Yeah, the Romanian was starting to kind of flame out there a little bit.
He was.
He was doing some very Joe Hart-like things.
Well, I think Pellegrini had made his point. We all knew that Joe Hart was eventually getting that number one spot back.
It was just the dog had misbehaved, and he was just rubbing his nose in it a little bit.
Yep. Lesson learned, hopefully. The other goal that I want to point, there are actually two things I want to point out. First off was Yaya Touré's succulent free kick to open the scoring. He had first off, the ball was just outside the box, and he had about zero room to get this ball either around the wall or up over top of it and then back down. He did both and just nipped inside the top of the crossbar, and it kind of ricocheted down. Just delicious goal. I love free kicks like that. That's his fourth of the year. So when you talk about like best free kick takers, people like Ronaldo and Bale often come up in the discussion. I think we need to start talking about Yaya as being one of those top free kick takers out there as well.
He puts that power behind it.
He really does.
When you're built like a power forward, that can happen.
Mm-hmm. One other point I did want to drop in there about that was if you haven't seen it yet, Negredo's assist to Milner for the last goal, outside of the foot, go out and watch it. It's like the type of football that...
It's just tasty football.
Yeah, it's just exactly what you need to see.
Over at the other Manchester United 3, West Ham 1. I mean, it's like, what am I really supposed to feel about this?
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot. I actually expected more of that. Yeah, he did have a nice one, off the bench for a change.
Adnan Fever was back.
Adnan Fever was back. Januzaj actually scored a goal as well. Kind of took the reins from Young as the person with the diving issue at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of a club problem.
Mm-hmm.
We did learn that RVP is going to be out for another month.
Yep.
So that sucks for them.
Maybe need to break out the horse placenta for that guy again.
That could work.
It might. It's done it for him before.
There might be some placenta in this eggnog.
There might be. It does have a fishy taste to it, so you never know.
It's very gelatinous.
It is.
I want to point out, I just said it there, with United. I don't know how to feel about this. What am I supposed to do with this? You beat West Ham. Congratulations.
Well, it's something Spurs haven't been able to do.
They're
right? So
0-2 in that endeavor.
Yeah.
But just recently, they beat Villa 3-0. They beat Stoke 2-0. This 3-1 win over West Ham. They got Hull on Boxing Day and Norwich right before New Year's. They can wrap up the end of December with just this great stretch of 5 easy wins against crap opponents. But I think at the end of the day, we still don't really know anything more about this United side. Sure, they might build some confidence during this time, but when they have to play the Chelseas and the Liverpools that are coming up quickly on the schedule, like Tottenham coming up quickly on their schedule, are they going to look this good now? I mean, I feel like I can't look at these wins that they've been racking up right now and say, oh, they're back.
Yeah.
Here comes the climb.
Yeah, I mean,
this is just a stretch against a bunch of bad teams.
Well, I mean, I think that's a little deceiving. They're playing Hull at home. Hull actually has the second best record at home in the league right now, behind Everton.
Yeah.
So.
But it's going to be on a short week.
Yeah, it will be on a short week's rest, so that's something to consider. But United have been dropping games like these all year long, so I don't think it's any guarantee that they're going to, just pick up these easy points. So I think the point that you were making, as far as we don't really know what to expect out of this team, we still don't know what to expect out of these results either. So could it be an easy stretch for United? Yeah, it could. But I could easily see them continuing to trip up against teams that they supposedly shouldn't be.
Moving on, Sunderland 0, Norwich 0. Moving on.
Yep.
West Brom 1, Hull City 1. West Brom haven't won a match since November 2nd.
That's a long time.
That is a bit of a stretch there. Obviously explains why they're currently in a manager hunt, which, by the way, that kind of I feel like that search kind of went cold a little bit.
everyone stopped talking about it. And I think a lot of that has to do with a larger vacancy that opened up since then.
But I feel like there was a lot of, there was a 2-day stretch there where it seemed like RDM was just sitting in traffic getting on over to the stadium to sign the paperwork. Like, they made it seem like they were really moving towards certain guys, and now they're not the attractive job anymore, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I don't know that they were ever really the attractive job.
Well, they were the job.
They were the job that was open. It's an interesting situation what's going on at West Brom at the moment. You wonder why they haven't made an appointment. Maybe it has something to do with the lack of, true candidates that they consider in the field. Whatever the case may be, they probably ought to do something about, actually naming a manager sometime soon, because they're kind of sitting in a position where they could get themselves in a really sticky situation quickly.
Yeah, they're, as we said, November 2nd was their last win.
Right.
So they're hemorrhaging any chances of points. I wrote it down here. A rudderless ship.
That's
They have nobody running. No one's running this thing.
A very apt description, sir.
Let's move on to Sunday. But before we move on to the Sunday match, we got to jump in the DeLorean, the TARDIS, whatever kind of time machine you wish.
Mm-hmm.
They had to do it to us. Just hours after we recorded last week's podcast, AVB was sacked. So we didn't get to make... Well, I have no comments. You didn't get to make your comments on this broadcast. So the floor is yours.
Okay. So, we speculated that it might happen.
Yeah, I don't know. You were like, I don't think it's happened yet.
I didn't think it was going to happen. I think that's what ended up happening is I didn't really anticipate that actually happening, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
Legitimately, I was shocked. While a lot of people were. Okay, you're pouring yourself a drink. I'll probably need some here in a minute.
Get your nog on.
Yeah, get the nog on. It's the only way to get through these type of discussions.
It's the only way to get through the fact that you don't have a manager.
Well, we do now.
You do. Sort of.
But
you have a Band-Aid.
So I wrote a piece on this on the blog. If you want to hear all my thoughts on it, definitely go out and read that. But Tottenham embarked on this project. And this is something I talked about last week as well, where we got rid of Redknapp after several successful seasons in a row and brought in this new young manager with a big 5-year plan. And why we fired Villas-Boas after spending £100 million on new talent, 7 new players, and only giving him 16 games to prove himself, it just seems like, what plan are we really following?
Right.
Were we really ever sticking to this plan? I don't think so. If you're that willing to, fire your manager when you're only 5 points out of the top 4, which is our stated goal for the season. Now, yeah, we were flying higher than that earlier in the season, but 4th is where we're aiming for. So it seemed really premature. It seemed like Daniel Levy has a really bad habit of firing managers and hiring managers that don't necessarily suit the needs of what he's looking for. So for me, you used the analogy of the rudderless ship earlier. It's starting to feel a little bit like Tottenham go that way. Like, yeah, Daniel Levy's a great negotiator when it comes to purchasing players or getting the price he wants for players he's selling.
Not a very patient man, apparently.
No, not at all. And I don't think we'll ever get the full story on this. Like, clearly there's a lot going on in the background at Tottenham at the moment.
Well, and then, you hear the story that came out, and it kind of came out when he was sacked at Chelsea, that this guy is batting, he is playing out of his league right now. He is not Premier League manager material.
I don't know that I agree with that statement.
A lot of people point at, his managerial time before at Porto, where he, a lot of people are like, well, he had a team with a lot of really good young talent on it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically he just didn't mess it up. That's what I heard a lot of people say. Oh, he just didn't mess it up at Porto.
But isn't this Tottenham team right now a team with a lot of young talent on it?
I guess he messed it up.
Yeah. So I
don't know. I don't know what you want. You're right. If you're gonna embark on a plan, Tottenham's a organization where you feel like they're gonna give guys a little more time to build towards something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was a Chelsea move.
Right.
This was a Chelsea move.
It did feel very Chelsea-ish,
Yeah.
Firing a manager when he's really not down in the doldrums. This isn't like when we fired Juande Ramos and we were in the relegation places. We're 5 points off the top, or off fourth place, and we were only at 7 points off the top at that point. So it was very premature. It was very rash. I think AVB is Premier League quality. I think he is absolutely still learning. At 36, you would have to be.
Yeah.
He seemed very inflexible. If I would say anything about that, as AVB stuck to his guns, and no matter what the situation was, and he showed some astuteness when it came to adjusting tactics in game. But he set out every match to want to play his type of football, even if it wasn't the type of football that was going to win the game for us.
The other thing I guess was kind of thrown out there is why AVB is not this manager that can hold a job in the Premier League is that. And it's an age-old discussion that you can go to the NFL, you can go to college football, you can go to any of these things, and you're talking about a similar question, which is this guy might be a tactical genius, but that does not make one a head coach or head manager material.
Right.
Charlie Weiss in college football, great example of that. I mean, he is. As a coordinator goes, he can draw plays, he can call the right ones. He is great as that concern, but when he is the guy in charge, the man that has to manage the personalities, manage all of the goings on, and kind of be the go-to, the person that kind of takes it all, can he do that? And the answer with Charlie Weiss was no.
And maybe that is the case with AVB. I mean, the complaint or the knock that he seems to get most of the time, both at Chelsea and at Spurs, was he kind of lacks in the man management department.
Yeah, and that's important.
Mm-hmm. Being able to manage the personalities of 100 million pounds worth of player is a difficult job and something that only a few managers have proven really adept at.
Well, and maybe that goes back to the Porto thing. When he was at Porto, you were talking about guys like Hulk and others who were very young in their career and weren't commanding these insane paychecks and weren't at, Porto is Porto, but they weren't, this top level club. They weren't in like a Premier League side like Tottenham.
Well, I mean,
or Chelsea.
So I'll disagree a little bit. That Porto side actually had a lot of really good young players. Well, not entirely proven yet.
But they weren't guys making stupid money at that time yet.
No, not quite. But, I mean, look at some of the guys that were in there. We had people like Fabio Contrao, who's at Real Madrid. Falcao was playing for them at that point.
Right, yeah.
Moutinho, who's now playing for Monaco.
Yeah.
A lot of really, really good players. To win a trophy of that stature shows, no matter how good the players that are underneath you are, that you have some sort of talent.
But you're not saying that the pressure to deal with guys playing with big contracts in the Premier League, their worldwide names, isn't a different factor?
Expectations are higher in England. I mean, there's no doubt on that front.
Too, yeah. I think it's two front. I think you have your expectations are way higher, and I think by that point in time, when guys are coming into a side like Tottenham or Chelsea or wherever, especially, I mean, Chelsea, it was an absolute player mutiny on them.
Right.
I mean, John Terry just hung that man out to dry.
Well, and Lampard supposedly was even in on it. You wouldn't consider him as one of those type of players.
I think you look at John Terry and Lampard as two guys that just saw this guy come in like, who are you?
You're like my age, bro.
We are legends at a club in England, and you're
this guy that was an assistant coach here a little while ago.
Some ginger with a faux hawk.
So, no, I feel like AVB was hard done. I don't feel like he was given the time that he was owed.
And, it's funny. I said when he first got the job at Tottenham, I was like, this is good for him because he's going to – I even said to my friends, I was like, he's going to get the time and the patience at Tottenham that he was never going to get at Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently
he didn't
that was
really
wrong.
get that. Yeah, he didn't really get that. So we'll get on to in a few minutes what Tim Sherwood, the newly named permanent, and I'm doing air quotes around
temporary.
this. Yeah, permanent temporary manager at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Tim Sherwood, former youth director. replacing AVB with a guy that has zero managerial experience just further underlines the fact that this project thing is a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense. Now, I'm not saying that Sherwood can't do this job, and I'm not fully convinced that he can. But I feel like we're already off to a really cagey start by hiring a guy that has just no credentials at all, aside from promise.
Promise, he knows some of the young guys, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which he knows some of the young guys, yet the person that he kind of implemented is not a young guy.
No, he's not at all. So let's actually talk about this match a little bit.
All right, Southampton 2, Tottenham 3, back and forth affair. Good match. Probably one of the better matches of the weekend to watch. I enjoyed it.
If I were a neutaral, that would have been a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, it's not as much fun when it's
yeah. So I'm
your
not
guys
neutral.
in the fire.
Yeah. Spurs. So again, this was Tim Sherwood's second game in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Sherwood, a Spurs legend. He's a great player.
Yeah.
Admitted Arsenal fan, which rubs me a little bit the wrong way, but whatever. We can ignore that. So was Harry Redknapp. Sherwood is a old school Spurs player. He digs a classic 4-4-2. He's very of the Redknapp mold, where he's going to go out there and tell the guys to run about a bit. And by all accounts, he's done that. He's returned the 4-4-2 for our strategy, and he's brought back guys like Emmanuel Adebayor, who'd been training with the youth team, so someone Sherwood was, obviously getting to spend a lot of time with, but has restored him to the starting lineup, and he's scored 3 goals in 2 games so far. So it seems like a really smart idea, and maybe this whole 4-4-2 nonsense makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, Spurs just seem really likely to leak goals.
And the problem is they're leaking goals, and they're up until this weekend, they're not scoring goals.
Right.
Which, if you're going to leak them, you're going to need to compensate.
Yeah, so maybe this is a more of a sign that we are returning to Redknapp football where, well, we may give up 2, but we're going to score 3, so screw you.
The Adebayor brace, though, his 3 goals on the week.
Mm-hmm.
He's back in play, apparently.
Yeah, so, people knock Adi. I think it's an unfair. He is someone that is prone to drift off and lose his attention from time to time. And he needs kind of these forced leavings out in the cold. But he is when he's on his game, is one of the best strikers in the league. That first goal against Southampton, a cross from would-be winger Roberto Soldado for a spectacularly athletic finish from Adebayor.
Yeah.
A flying volley to the far post.
Just right there, point-blank range.
Yep. So a great finish. Adi's clearly loving his football at the moment. He's glad to be back playing again, if at bare minimum.
But let's be honest. Given midweek what happened in Capital One,
We lost.
When Lallana put that first one in, did you just sit there and go, uh-oh, here we go again?
I did have concerns that we were going to concede 3 to 4 goals to the Southampton side. And it was a weakened Southampton side at that, missing a lot of their back 4. Lallana was probably their best player on the day, if not, one of the best players on the pitch throughout the match. But I was definitely feeling unnerved on that first goal from Lallana, especially the way they kind of sliced up the Spurs defense. So Sherwood, he does have potential. He's well respected in the game. I'm going to back him because I really don't have any other choice but to do that.
He had the interim tag, and now he's got the permanent interim tag. What?
So they gave him a 18-month contract, so he's good through the end of next season. I think that says a bit about the lack of quality coaches on the market, or at least available quality coaches.
Were you surprised that it's that length and not just we're locking you in for the rest of the year?
So I think that does 2 things. One is it assures Sherwood an entire year's pay as a manager.
That's always nice.
So even if they dispatch of him,
that doesn't suck.
Yeah, it doesn't suck too bad. Secondly, I think it tells the players a little bit that, hey, this guy's actually around for a little while.
It gives a sense of permanence.
Yeah, it does.
That the players can't just go, well, I'll just wait you out.
But this is a classic Levy move. He has signed up a guy that can be an easy scapegoat due to his inexperience. You can automatically blame any shortcomings for the rest of the season on the guy's lack of chops directing a team of Tottenham stature. Secondly, it buys him time to actually go out and recruit in a top-level coach. Because it really, a lot of the people that were being linked have already come out and said, well, I'm not leaving our team in the middle of the year. People like Louis van Gaal, the current Netherlands coach, says he's not going to leave, clearly because he's coaching in the World Cup this summer. Something we talked about with a couple of the other people that have been linked. Pochettino straight up said that he's not interested.
Yeah.
And some other managers as well, Michael Laudrup. So Spurs were kind of stuck. And again,
didn't have a ton of options.
This is very puzzling about the entire firing is there really wasn't a plan for who they were going to replace him with. It was just like, nah, he's got to go. And it feels like Levy was folding to the pressure of the fans that just couldn't take the way things were going. And I'm not saying that a change wasn't needed, and maybe one was, but it just seems like we are so aimless at the moment. So enough of me soapboxing.
It's a fun feeling.
Yeah.
Love to be aimless.
Yeah, well, it's a fun feeling when you're not the one that has to get up on your soapbox and rant.
There was another Sunday match. Swansea 1, Everton 2. The Ross Barkley show.
Ross Barkley, get on the bandwagon now.
He got denied a penalty.
He did.
Just cut down right at the back of the box there.
Mm-hmm. But he got his revenge.
He got his revenge. It was one of the other talking points. Lukaku completely whiffing a great opportunity.
Badly.
On a misplayed ball by the keeper. He had a great opportunity to either score a goal or give the keeper a concussion by kicking him directly in the temple. He neglected to do either of those and just swiped just wildly at the air.
Yeah, he did. I think it was actually a bit of control from Lukaku to not just crush the keeper in the head.
Didn't want to give him a concussion or possibly kill him.
Yeah, his face afterward was like, oh, man, I almost kicked that guy in the head. Like, I was this close. So, way to go, Lukaku.
Everton trucking along. Again, there's a lot of clubs that are just not going away yet. I mean, we're getting close to, next week is 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of wonder, how long are some of these clubs going to kind of hang around? I mean, we talked about it. Top 5 teams are 2 points.
Right.
Within each other.
And Spurs are now, just 3 points off the top 4 as well, all the way back in 7th. United just 2 points behind us.
Yeah, they're in 8th.
So, the table is really tight.
You just wonder, though, when, like, the Newcastles, the Everton, some of the Southamptons, when are some of these teams eventually going to fall apart?
Well, Southampton's one you already mentioned. They've actually creeped all the way back to 9th. So they've gone a while now without a win.
Yeah,
they're in a bit of bad form. So I think we're starting to see them fall back to the place in the table they probably deserve to be, at least based on quality. Everton, we keep saying this about them. Their squad is a little short, not very deep.
Nope.
And if they have some key injuries, we're going to see Deulofeu, who's out for a little while at the moment. If they pick up a few more of these key ones, in particular to a player like Barkley, who we've been talking about for a few weeks now in the pod about how well he's been playing. If someone like him goes down,
Barkley or Lukaku goes down right now,
they could be in some serious trouble. So, not to say that Tottenham, clearly they've not had the best of luck with injuries, but you'd think we'd be doing better, and we're not. So, I don't think anyone in the top 7, 8 teams is really assured of any place that they're currently at the moment.
I completely agree. 2 teams that are in that group squared off today. Clash of the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
NBC even wheeled out an on-site studio for this one.
Woo!
Tim Howard there being nonchalant and non-confrontational about things.
Yep.
Soft talking his way through 30 minutes of pregame.
Absolutely.
We love you, Tim. Babyface Tim.
Yeah.
I thought it was Grant Wall for a second.
Well, do you think NBC said something along the lines of, hey, Tim, get rid of that scary-ass beard before you come on and talk on our television?
It looks like it might be a living creature.
He looks significantly friendlier without the beard, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So.
Arsenal 0, Chelsea, you guessed it, 0.
Yeah. So you mentioned something earlier, and I think this is a really good point about the big games for the teams that are truly and really competing for the title. And
Right.
Arsenal and Chelsea are teams that I think we can consider to be in the title fight.
Yeah. Chelsea reluctantly in the title fight.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as they try not to.
They seem to not really have much desire to be in the title fight. We often see this kind of cautious approach.
We saw it earlier this year. Remember when they played United?
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea and United. That was a 0-0 Monday suckfest. Mm-hmm. And we got another one of those.
Yeah. So I don't think the weather helped with this one.
Yeah, it's swirling rain, crazy wind. It was not favorable conditions.
No.
Of course, those are also the same conditions that can give you crazy ball movement that will get you a goal or two that's unexpected. Harken back to Tim Howard's goal last year.
Yep. So, I mean, this game overall, neither one of the teams really seemed like they were in it. I mean,
No.
didn't it kind of almost seem like they'd both already agreed, like, hey, we're just going to put in about 75% effort today?
Well, Chelsea did just by their starters.
Mm-hmm.
No Mata, which, okay, he had just started like 6 games in a row. Give him a day off. I don't know why this is the game you give him off instead of, I don't know, Swansea on Thursday.
Right.
But that's not the problem as much as it is who you brought in instead,
Right.
Willian.
He's really been dog shit for you
He's
guys.
been crap.
Yeah.
And he was absolute garbage today. There were 2 fantastic counterattacks. Just beautiful runs. One of them set up by, I think both of them set up by Hazard.
Mm-hmm.
Both times, the second the ball went to Willian, things came to a crashing halt.
Right.
He crapped away a great opportunity where he went ahead and put a fairly average attempt on goal instead of playing a cross in. He had 2 guys out wide that were in a great position. Both Ramirez and Hazard were just standing there after the play like,
Hands up.
hello,
Yep.
we're still on the team.
Yeah, I mean,
It was frustrating.
what was odd is, Hazard probably looked your most dangerous player for a majority of the match, and he was the first one to make way.
Yeah, that was. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one that was like. So now, not only did we not play Mata, the guy that was basically blanketed the pitch last week,
Right.
we're now taking the one guy off that's filling that role, setting up the offense all day long in the few opportunities they've had, because both teams were kind of sleepwalking through periods of the match.
Right.
Yeah, you take him off. The other substitutions were just as insane.
Mm-hmm.
End of the match, they substitute their striker
Fernando Torres.
for David Luiz, who was kind of playing a holding mid when he kind of got in. I mean,
That turned into a pressing,
well,
forward-thinking
that
midfielder.
might not have been Mourinho's call. That might just have been the lively
Yeah.
little poodle kind of doing his own thing, which has
He's prone to that.
he does that, and that's why Cardiff got that goal. We
Yeah.
played them.
So it was it definitely looked like a match that neither manager wanted to lose.
Absolutely
and that's exactly the type of match that we got.
No one wanted to lose it.
No. So
You really, literally had each team had one almost chance on goal. You had Lampard slapped one off the crossbar, and then Giroud put one off the woodwork as well. That was it.
yeah.
That was it. That was it.
I mean, there wasn't really much to this. I was really excited. I got let out early from work. I was like, yeah, I get to go home and watch this match. And it was really the biggest excitement for me was Sherwood being named Tottenham's permanent manager throughout the course. It was in the second half. Yeah. So that really got me all fired up.
I got to call BS on the Arsenal fans at the Emirates that started to sing their boring Chelsea song. Did you see how your team performed?
Yeah. So this is another thing we've said the last couple weeks. Arsenal are really looking tired.
Yeah.
And they don't look near as sharp. Ozil in particular looks like someone that, well, he still has his flashes.
Yeah, he had a shot.
He just looks
should have
frustrated.
Shot. He had an opportunity, but yeah, he definitely looked frustrated. Even though interesting kind of build-up to the match all week long. Jose Mourinho just talking up Ozil just left and right.
Yeah,
I don't
really
know if we're going
was.
to be able to contain him.
I
We'll
remember
try to control him.
I remember when I used to manage him, and he was really, really tough, guys.
Hell on wheels, that guy.
So I pretty much told my players, get ready to play against Jesus.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. All week, Jose saying nothing really about his squad.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're going to try to contain him, but we probably can't contain him for the whole 90.
And they did.
They did. Well, he contained himself, I think, for the whole
That
90.
could be part of it, too. So,
yeah, it was a kind of crappy affair.
yeah. All right, so let's take a look at the table.
Okay, I just pulled it up on ESPN FC. So
I've got the official one here on the Premier League website.
I don't know why those would be different.
You'd expect them to be the same.
Sure.
All right.
Let's compare notes here.
Okay, so I have on my table Liverpool at the top on 36 points.
Nope, I got Chelsea with 34. Top of the table.
Top of the table. I have Arsenal behind them on 36 points as well.
No, Newcastle 30 points.
Okay. So what's going on with your table?
I have Liverpool behind them with 36, and then in fourth place is also Liverpool with 36. Then Everton, Tottenham, Arsenal twice, Newcastle again,
What is going on over there?
United, City again twice, Southampton, Tottenham, who was also in like 6 on this thing, and then Chelsea is also in what appears to be 14th and 16th place.
All right, well,
So ESPN
lesson
might
learned.
not be correct.
Yeah, ESPN's table is jacked. So let's look at a real table, because I think I've got the real one.
Are you sure? Because this one seemed pretty legit.
Well, if the one on the actual Premier League site is wrong, then,
Oh,
who
God
should we
help us,
call?
we're done.
Yeah, we should call someone. All right, so sitting top of the heap, as their fans like to let us know,
Not
Liverpool.
Chelsea?
No,
Liverpool?
not Chelsea. Actually, Liverpool on 36 points, tied with them.
Their fans will let you know.
They will. Also, another team whose fans like to let you know, sitting level on points with them is Arsenal. Only thing separating them is goal differential. Liverpool on 23, Arsenal at 16. Following closely, hotly behind them, Manchester City on 35 points.
Yeah, and City and Liverpool will match up on Boxing Day, Thursday.
Get ready for it. So that's a big match with a lot of
And
implications.
then Liverpool has Chelsea right after that on Sunday.
Yeah. So
So Liverpool could potentially, and I'm not calling it right now because certainly not calling it the way that
things
Chelsea's
have
been
gone.
playing, but
yeah.
they could drop like a rock.
They could. So Chelsea, of course, sitting in fourth on 34 points. Just behind them, Everton also on 34 points, separated by a single bit of goal differential. Newcastle in sixth on 30 points. So, again, we're on 30 points. We're still only 6 points off the top of the table. They're already down to sixth.
That's stupid.
Seventh place are Spurs, also on 30 points. Their goal differential, -5, so we've got a hole to climb out of. And then United at 28, with Southampton falling just behind at 24. And leveling out the top half of the table are Stoke City, quietly moving their way up to 24, or up to 10th with 21 points.
I can say safely that the table that I was looking at that had most of the teams mentioned 2 to 3 times, sometimes in a row, did correctly have Crystal Palace, Fulham, and Sunderland in the relegation.
Yeah, so that's definitely the correct bottom half of the table.
Which, I guess we kind of mentioned it before because it's kind of a foregone conclusion, but Clint Dempsey, congratulations. You're the proud new owner of Relegation Battle.
Yeah, so Dempsey's going to be moving across the pond. This is a nice little bridge into some MLS news as well.
Absolutely.
But Dempsey has been all but confirmed to be going back to Fulham on loan through the end of February. So stay tuned for that as he tries to rescue the Cottagers in a really dour season.
13 points.
Yeah. From 17 matches.
They're behind Crystal Palace on goal differential.
Yep.
And really one weekend could put them in last.
Yeah.
I mean, if Sunderland beats somebody and they lose,
Yep.
that's it.
So
They're in the bottom.
good luck with that fight, Clint Dempsey.
Let's quickly jump over, though, to the Capital One Cup quarterfinals this past week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, saw our boys bid adieu. Tottenham.
Yep.
Lost 2-1 to West Ham.
That's what we do this season.
Although Adebayor.
Yeah, Adebayor. That was his coming out party, being returned to the lineup by first-time coach Tim Sherwood. So.
And both our teams losing it late.
Yep.
West Ham scoring both their goals in the last 10 minutes.
Yep.
Over with Chelsea. Chelsea loses 2-1 to Sunderland. Had the 1-0 lead, thanks to Frankie Lampard.
Mm-hmm.
Till the 88th minute. Fabio Borini puts one in. We go to extras. And Kai Sun-young.
Household name.
My favorite.
He's on loan from Swansea.
He fires home the winner. Chelsea and Spurs bow out in the quarterfinals. That left the other two matches. United beats Stoke 2-0. City has a 3-1 win over Leicester City. We had a Dzeko signing.
Mm-hmm.
He put 2 in.
Yeah. He also made an appearance at the weekend.
Did he?
Wasn't as impressive.
No.
Wasn't
not
as impressive.
Not solid.
No.
Well, he was built for the Capital One Cup.
Yes, he was.
Or friendlies against the U.S.
Nothing like a $30 million striker to bring out as reserve. Welcome.
Have you seen Chelsea?
Welcome to Manchester City. Or Chelsea, for that matter.
So basically that's going to set up Man U, Sunderland, and City, West Ham. That'll happen on, I believe, January 6th.
Looks like we're steamrolling our way towards a all-Manchester final.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Because that's a Europa spot. It's going to go to a team that's already probably going to qualify for European competition.
So that means if one of United or City, and let's assume that they both finish in the top 4,
right?
That means that spot will relegate to the next team down in the table. So, hang with me here.
I'm trying.
Let's say that United...
I've had a lot of eggnog.
Let's say, that's true. Let's say that United and City both finish top 4, qualify for Champions League.
Okay.
That means that Europa League spot gets relegated to not 5th place, because that's already given to the Europa League, but 6th place.
Okay.
So that's how that would work out.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, United might be making their own spot there.
Yeah, but we could potentially see, absolutely, United may need that to get into Europe. But we could see a team like Sunderland potentially get relegated and actually go on and play in Europe, just like we're seeing with Wigan
I was gonna say,
now.
We had Wigan who they should have advanced.
Yeah.
They had an opportunity right on Thanksgiving Day.
But it just
Had
wasn't.
they won, they would have secured knockout round, but instead they crapped the bed that day, crapped the bed the last day.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the day after that first bed crapping.
Yep.
Black Friday was definitely very black for one Owen Coyle.
Yes, it was.
He was let go that day.
That's when he let go, our good friend Owen Coyle, who...
Our bud.
Yeah. So, the Capital One Cup. It's the magic.
I mean, I don't know. Like, you and me, we're fans of two sides that just bowed out in the quarterfinals against crappy opponents. Do you care?
I'll care enough to pay attention to who wins and watch the final.
Like
beyond that.
Yeah, I feel it's like how it was with Europa last year for Chelsea. Like, I'm excited when we win, and when we lose, don't care.
Yeah, well,
don't care.
It's just a Capital One Cup.
That's just Europa. This sucks.
Yeah, not that big of a deal. So,
let's move to stateside action. A little bit of news coming out over the week, kind of. We dubbed it the MLS hot stove last week, and you know it so far hasn't disappointed each week so far lately.
We've had some tidbits out there.
There's been some good off-field action going on, some wheeling and dealing. Big name moved this week, Eddie Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Going, that's a bit of a flight.
It is a bit of a flight.
From Seattle to D.C.
Yeah, so Eddie's left his predicament in Seattle, where he was not being shown the money that he was wanting, and found a home in D.C. who is willing to spend designated player money, we would suspect, to land Johnson's services. Now, this is Johnson's, I believe, 5th MLS side.
And I guess that opens the door to, what's that guy's deal?
So I think that's the big thing with Johnson is there's a lot of ego that comes along with all the talent and promise that he has.
It takes a lot of ego to do a Cisco hairdo.
It really does.
The Hex.
Mm-hmm. You know, looking like Demolition Man a little bit.
Like, what was the one guy from the real world? Tech Money.
Oh, hell yeah. He looks just like Tech.
Tech Money.
Yeah. So his hair is a bit questionable, but it's a big move for DC. They're obviously trying to get themselves back out of the basement of MLS, and maybe Johnson's going to be the man to make that happen.
Oh yeah, they were definitely in the basement last year. There's only one way to go for this.
There really
for
is.
This club.
Bringing Eddie Johnson in is the least you can do. So.
Other news: the Montreal Impact make their coaching hire.
Replace one Frank with another.
We got one Frank with another. They go with the one who had just been sacked.
Mm-hmm. So Frank Klopas, the former Chicago Fire manager, making his way over to French Canada. He'll take charge of the Impact moving forward.
It's the only kind of Canada I know.
Well, Toronto's all right.
Family's French-Canadian.
Okay, well, screw you then.
I'm a dirty Frenchie.
Yeah, I now like you less. I now like you less. So that's big news as well. Some other MLS news kind of creeping out too.
Zlatan and Ribery, in separate interviews this week, dropped some knowledge that they would entertain the idea of coming stateside to wrap up, as Ribery put it, after his real career and come over and play some MLS.
Yeah. So what kind of a insult from Ribery, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
Don't even come now. And let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Would an MLS side jump at the chance to sign Frank Ribery?
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes.
Because let's just talk a little bit about the baggage that Frank Ribery brings with him.
Well, he might be a pedophile, actually.
So there is the potential that he could have sex with underage prostitutes in these cities.
We call that a red flag.
Yeah.
It's not a deal breaker, just a red flag.
And this isn't even something that's speculated. This is confirmed, folks. So there's that side of it. One, he doesn't. Secondly, he doesn't exactly have the face to be marketed.
No.
And that's something that's big for designated players here in MLS. Yeah, I mean, poor him,
He looks like a Bond villain.
He does look like a Bond villain. Poor Ribery suffering a horrific car accident as a child, and that's the reason for the scar on his face.
It happens.
But that is something that MLS sides do look at, and I wonder with that whole pedophilia thing hanging over his head.
That's a dark cloud.
That maybe MLS sides, especially with his whole "I'm only going to come over after my real career is done" comment. Wouldn't that make you a little hesitant to jump at Frank Ribery?
I feel like what you're saying is he is destined for Chivas USA.
If they spent money, then maybe.
Well.
And he had Hispanic roots, which he lacks. So
Montreal maybe then?
Hey, maybe. That seems like the right place for it, because if anyone's going to have underage prostitutes, it's going to be Montreal.
It's totally going to be Montreal.
Yeah.
Or wherever a large sporting event is taking place.
That's true.
But, Zlatan, he would draw some people in, right?
Zlatan, I would have to think, is one of the league's top targets.
He's not exactly a household name like a Beckham was
or
a Henry, but he is a spectacle.
He is a man that makes headlines, and whether it's through ridiculous goals, which even if the guy's 38 years old when he comes over here to play, he is still going to be capable of scoring.
No.
But also because he is a one-man circus, constantly referring to himself in third person, clearly thinking he is a superior human being to everyone that he comes in contact with.
Didn't he essentially say that the World Cup is now meaningless, that he's not going to be in it?
A World Cup without Zlatan is not a World Cup worth watching.
There it is.
So it's bad when I can remember the exact quote.
I feel like, and with Ribery's comments, it really kind of brings it to a head. Is this there's a marketability factor, there's a quick money grab factor, but overall is the concept that worldwide a lot of players, especially in Europe, see MLS as a place to go, grab some fame, grab some money after, the treads off the tires. Is that, at the end of the day, good for MLS?
I think as far as strategies go, it's a good way to get MLS to where we're going.
Okay.
So it does two things.
But where we're going is eventually where that's not the case, where guys come during their prime.
Right. So I think you need these big-name players in order to attract the mid-range players that you need to slowly build towards getting good top-level players in their primes. So think of it this way. It's a domino effect. Signing a Ribery or a Zlatan Ibrahimovic or a Beckham is going to be enough to convince other top-name players to come. So you think of guys like Beckham came in, and then players like Henry and Cahill were players to follow.
Yep.
And since we've seen those guys come in, other middle-level players that have had decent careers in Europe have come over and found their legs in MLS as well, and we're starting to see those things like...
Well, and you still hear about some names. I mean, Lampard has always said that it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, seems likely, maybe after this year.
As soon as Robbie Keane finally moves on, stops hogging up all that DP money.
Yeah, and Keane's a great example of that. So you slowly start to see that age drop, down as players start to look at MLS as an option.
But right now, though, it still is. I mean, you still know guys like Ribery, Lampard, Drogba has mentioned that Drogba has said as much as he wants to end his career in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And with Ribery's comments of once my real career is over.
Yeah.
That's still kind of almost a PR battle of this is where you go at the end of your career
to get a fat paycheck,
get a nice paycheck, do some cool endorsements, live out, in LA, live in New York, these attractive U.S. cities. But at the end of the day, I feel like the MLS at some point needs to really kind of break away from that mold. They cannot be that. And if they keep bringing these guys in, it's just going to kind of sustain that ideology of that's what the MLS is, globally.
Yeah. Well, I think I hear that point, but I do think it is you need those big name players to convince middle level players or players that are potentially looking for the next big move in their career to consider our league. Star names provide legitimacy, and MLS has often lacked legitimacy. Mm-hmm. And you can see that in players like a Federico Higuain, who plays for the Crew. Not a top-level talent, but he's a good talent, and he came here during his prime.
Yeah.
And you need that legitimacy from star players to convince
those are the kind
of
guys we need.
And you're starting to see more of those. More and more of the DPs that are being brought in aren't necessarily your, huge aging European stars. They're guys that are kind of mid-level that we need to actually progress this league further and further up the ladder. So it's a slow and steady process, and I hear you out, and I agree that we don't want to be looked at as a retirement league, but we need some of those big players to actually act as magnets to get the other ones in.
Sure. If you could just pick one player. I mean, as an MLS fan, because I mean, the reality is it's exciting when these big names come over here. I mean, when I sit here and read that Ribery and Zlatan are talking about the MLS, like the thought of them playing in the MLS someday and being able to make the 90-minute commute up to Columbus and watch them play.
Right.
It's awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Who would be the guy right now playing that you go when his real career is over, he comes to the MLS, like, who would that guy be that you want to see?
There are two, and I think these are the two that are at the top of MLS's list as well.
Okay.
And it's the two guys who are the best players in the world right now. Like, without a doubt, MLS has grand designs to try to attract one of, if not both, Messi and Ronaldo to come over here.
Sure.
And, Messi seems like he's going to be the guy that's going to be a one-club guy. He's never going to leave Barcelona.
And it's
going to be a tough sell because he seems like a guy that recognizes that if he comes over and kind of stinks it up after a few, tired years in MLS when he's in his late 30s, that it might harm his reputation.
And if you think the Spanish government can level you some trouble with not paying their taxes, just try to do that here in America.
Yeah, that won't go over so well.
We will drag you out of your house in your underwear with a gun pointed to your head.
Yes, like Elian Gonzalez.
Yes, just like that.
Yeah.
Pull you out of the closet.
Yeah, pull you out of the closet, drag you out, put you in court.
Ronaldo is destined
For Florida.
He is. Oh, you're saying Florida?
Yeah, Miami.
Oh, I think he was just gonna go to L.A. because he seems like a guy that's just gonna go there and just cut a wide swath with the female celebrities.
He
in
may.
LA.
Hey, he's still holding steady with his girlfriend, his partner.
Okay, well, but before him and partner got together, he did. You remember that story where he rolled out to L.A., hung out with Kim Kardashian for a night, and then jettisoned out of there.
Yeah. You know, I would love to watch a crushed Kim Kardashian as Cristiano Ronaldo walks out of the room. I would pay money to watch the e-reality tapes.
You want to go get lunch? I'm out of here.
Nah. Hey,
I gotta go.
I'm actually worth something.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna peace out.
Talent. Hack.
Enjoy Kanye West.
Yeah.
So now I think that's where MLS would like to see, and I think those are the people they want the most. If I'm talking about realistic people, someone I've long thought would be perfect for MLS, someone like Steven Ireland, a quality talent.
That's an interesting play.
That could come over here and cause legitimate issues for teams.
Yeah.
But wouldn't cost you an arm and a leg. I feel like he would be a great player if he was actually a professional. That guy could care less. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still holding out. I've been holding out for 3 years now for Lampard to make the move.
He's been on the verge for a few years now.
It's been reported as almost going to happen for several years now.
Yeah.
I mean, this time last year, it was like, oh yeah, he's totally going. It's happening. He is signing with LA tomorrow.
Oh, he signed a new contract with Chelsea.
Wah, wah, wah.
So much. So close.
Outside of that, I'm trying to think of other players that I think would be just a star. Mm-hmm. I always throw out there that, bringing in a guy like Chicharito would be good.
Yeah. Would really draw in the Mexican fans.
Absolutely.
They've struggled to actually get into MLS a lot of the time, so that would lend someone like Chivas USA, and I would guarantee that's a move that they would be sizing up if they're probably not already looking at trying to bring him to their main club in Guadalajara. But definitely a big name player that MLS would be shooting for.
Yeah, the way that, the Mexican population is spread out. I mean, there's a lot of cities where Chicharito would work, like a city like Houston. Mm-hmm. He would work very well as far as really bringing in a fan base.
Yep.
If Atlanta gets a team, that's another place where it could really work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there have been a lot of rumors of players that are coming over. It's, earlier this week there was talk that Eto'o had said he was coming over after this year.
Yeah.
Jermaine Defoe has been the biggest rumor, probably.
Apparently, Jermaine Defoe and Eto'o are going to congeal as one person and sign for Toronto.
Yeah, both of them are going to come over. So these are steps MLS needs to take, and they're the type of players that are going to attract in the other types of players that MLS needs, those mid-level ones that will convince and slowly build this league into a better league overall. So that's player movement. Let's talk a little bit about some new news as far as local teams go.
All right, joining us right now on the podcast, he covers the Dayton Dutch Lions for Reckless Challenge, recklesschallenge.net. You can check him out there. Chad Hollingsworth. Chad, how are you doing, man?
Doing well, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for popping on with us. We're recording this at 10 p.m. It's, almost Christmas Eve.
I know. Someone should probably be, preparing the presents for the kids. If you're a kid, you didn't hear that, and we're probably just, talking lunacy.
Some other guy up north is preparing this.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, someone is.
Yeah, you have no work ahead of you. Well, yeah, great to have you on. Obviously, this week we had big news coming out about the team you cover, the Dayton Dutch Lions, partnering with the Columbus Crew. Obviously, it's funny, some Crew fans were not so excited about it just because of the recent history the two clubs have had.
Yeah, that was definitely a flare point for quite a few of the Columbus fans.
A lot of Eddie Gavin, you will rue the day tweets coming out there. But
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't write about it in my piece. Can we talk about the Eddie Gavin situation for a minute?
Please do. Yes.
All right. Were you guys at the game, either one of you?
I was.
Did you see the tackle?
I did.
Did you think it was malicious?
No.
Neither did I.
It was a little
sort of fell awkwardly.
He did. I thought the challenge was stiff. I'll say that much.
No doubt, it was stiff.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of challenges throughout that whole match that were stiff. It was a tightly contested game.
Agreed.
It was a stiff challenge, but it was soccer.
Yeah. It was unfortunate.
Is that Gavin's physical rehabilitation was proceeding nicely, right? So it just so happens that his last match was that Open Cup match against the Dutch Lions.
Right.
We didn't end his career, and I say we, sometimes I include myself in the Dutch Lions family. The Dutch Lions didn't end his career. Eddie Gavin ended his career.
Right.
So any animosity towards the Dutch Lions as a result of that tackle, I think is somewhat unfounded.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with you completely. Having been at the game and seen the tackle go down, it definitely wasn't something like a Dutch Lion was trying to kill a crew member or anything along those lines. It was competitive football that was being played by two teams. And Gavin, you're absolutely right. This was a decision he made offhand. But of course, crew fans, with Gavin being a bit of a club legend, are going to take a little bit of offense to it. But I agree with you. It's something that they should look beyond for the benefit of the club on the whole.
So looking beyond that, there is a lot of positives, especially from the Dutch Lions standpoint, about this partnership.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of good things that are going to come for the Dutch Lions. First and foremost, we get 4 quality players, hopefully, and they're going to be on the Columbus Crew dime.
Yeah.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, that's pretty nice, especially for a club like Dayton that's only pinching pennies here and there.
Now, for some of the people that aren't familiar with how these kind of affiliations work, kind of hash this out for us.
Well, the way this works is once an affiliation is established between an MLS team and a USL Pro team, the MLS team sends at least 4 players on loan to the USL Pro team throughout the season. Doesn't have to be the same 4. Generally, the MLS team can call the player back up whenever needed. Hopefully, there'll be some collaboration between the two teams regarding which players are sent. The crew wants to have players developed. So, we're not going to get guys who are logging 90 minutes a game for the crew down in Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully also we'll get some guys in Dayton who have some quality and may be able to fill some gaps in the Dutch Lions roster.
Right. So are there any areas in the team you think the Dutch Lions are going to be looking for specifically for the crew, players to come in and supplement the existing roster, or are we kind of expecting, something along the lines of, the crew are going to dictate what type of players are sending down, what works best for the club in their perspective? How is that really going to shift out?
Well, I've spoken with Mike Mossel, president and owner of the Dutch Lions, and I've also spoken with Sid Van Drunen, the new Dutch Lions head coach. And they've assured me that nothing is going to be dictated by the crew, that this is going to be a two-way street, and that once the players arrive in Dayton, they will be coached just like any other player in the Dutch Lions roster. With respect to the types of players that I think might be sent down, I can tell you there's only 4 players on contract with the Dutch Lions right now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have your jaws drop at that. That's not an uncommon number for USL Pro at this time of the year. It's
Right.
very common for players in that league to only sign 1-year contracts. I can make some assumptions if the Dutch Lions return most of their roster. What they're going to need is a true center back. So it would not hurt my feelings at all to see Matt Wyatt back in the orange and black again this year.
Right.
Depending on what the crew's needs are at center back.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that would be an excellent pick. And he's definitely a developing player. He spent time with the Dutch Lions last year, correct?
He did. He was on loan to the Dutch Lions. It wasn't presented that way at first. He just showed up. And I was talking to Patrick Ball, who was the head coach at the time. He's like, check out our new center back. Well, the season ends, and we get recent news out of Columbus that Matt Wyatt had signed with Columbus as a homegrown player, which necessarily means that his professional contract last year was with the Crew and not with the Dutch Lions. So that was some pretty nifty maneuvering that Brian Bliss and the Dutch Lions front office worked out to get him down to Dayton last year, kind of under the radar.
Yeah, absolutely. And logging some quality minutes definitely helped to ease up the defense, the Dutch Lions, that was kind of injury hit throughout most of the season.
Yeah, and we didn't have a true center back on the roster all last year. The guys who filled in, we had Shintaro Harada, who's more of a defensive midfielder, who
right.
spent some time back there, and guys like Brock Granger and Greg Preciado, who are much more comfortable primarily as a right back, filled in and played admirably. But as soon as Matt showed up, it was evident that he had skills that were above and beyond what we had seen at center back at Dayton, at least for the last couple of years.
Nice. So what kind of other, outside of like roster benefits, what kind of other benefits are we looking at for, the Dutch Lions to take advantage of in this partnership?
Well, I think first and foremost, maybe some sense of legitimacy. And that's not meant to be a slight to the Dutch Lions at all. Obviously they're the group that I support wholeheartedly, and I know that they're a legitimate club. But, they play most of their games, well, all of their home games in a high school football stadium. Marketing budgets in USL Pro are pretty small, so there's not a whole lot that they can do to get the word out except for, rely on hopefully guys like me who are fervent supporters to try to spread through word of mouth. But now that they've got this association with the Columbus Crew, automatically people are going to link them up with professional football. Even if you're not a Dutch Lions fan, you might be a Crew fan, and that's not unheard of in the Dayton market. You might come out to check out future players for the Columbus Crew.
Mm-hmm. From a marketing standpoint, what do you think that they're going to kind of do to kind of tie that in, the whole thing that they are affiliated and that the Crew and the Dutch Lions are kind of, one group in a way?
That's the question. I talked to Mike Mossel about that very thing just the other day before I put my piece out, and they're kind of mum on that right now. So that tells me that those types of things are still being negotiated. I'd love to see, some sort of joint marketing, and that's been promised in all the press releases, but I can't imagine, or I can't envision at this time what form those might take.
Yeah, that was one of the kind of confusing issues that kind of surrounded the entire partnership as it was announced. Was it was really vaguely stated, hey, we're going to do some joint marketing efforts, but what that really is, and you don't really see a whole lot of the other MLS sides that are partnering with USL sides doing a whole lot of pushing of those partnering clubs. So it is a little bit of a head scratcher. I'm intrigued to see how that all pans out, because for me at least, I think it would be all a one-way street, a beneficial side, for the Crew, setting them down and kind of dictating the type of message that would be played out there. And I don't know if the Dutch Lions really will have that kind of leverage to dictate that kind of flow.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that. And certainly the Dutch Lions, whatever money gets put into this joint marketing campaign, I would imagine that it would predominantly come from the Crew. And that in and of itself would tell me that the Crew are going to dictate what kind of marketing campaign this is going to turn out to be.
Yeah. One of our favorite jokes that we like to often talk about when Jeremy and I first crossed paths in person was actually up at the Wigan match versus the Dayton Dutch Lions.
First time we ever met each other.
Yeah, it was a warm moment.
You, me, and Owen Coyle.
Yeah. It was a fun few moments. But one of the favorite things we like to joke about was the actual media guide that the Dutch Lions passed out for that match. And it was like a Xerox printed scanned set of pictures that had the names like typewriter written next to them.
And it was on a large piece of paper that was then just folded down into like a little booklet.
So I would think any sort of marketing money.
That was the only media guide that was issued by the Dutch Lions last year.
Well, hopefully they'll pick up some needed, help in that area as well. I would really like to see a bit of a raise in professionalism on that side of the business, because I think that would go a long way to helping them, improve their outreach and get more numbers in for matches.
I agree. That's a comment that I've heard from a lot of guys who I talking to showing up for a Dutch Lions match was, hey man, how about a media guide or a program so I can at least figure out who these guys are on the pitch.
Yeah. You said this is your club, that you support them wholeheartedly. Obviously, you cover them. 2013 was a very big year for this organization. They obviously just recently announced this thing with the Crew. They announced their expansion into Cincinnati, and we just talked about it. That they had FA Cup champions in the house. For not only someone who covers them, but as a fan, I mean, could you kind of just describe this year for the organization?
Oh wow, I can't even tell you what kind of. It was an amazing year, really. I mean, we didn't bring home any hardware, but what we did accomplish was above any expectations I think that anyone had for the team. And it started with the first match of the season against Pittsburgh. We went a man down early in the match. It was our home opener. But we managed to pull off a 2-1 victory against the Riverhounds. Emotion gushed from the stands. It was amazing. You could see it in the players and coaches' faces as well. And I think that just set the tone for the entire season. Went on a pretty good winning streak in the first half of the season. Gobbled up a lot of points. Stayed, near the top middle of the standings. For a good portion of the first half of the season, we were able to ride that into the playoffs. It was first winning season ever for the Dutch Lions. First time they made the playoffs. The Wigan match, starting a rivalry almost with the Crew. It was a fantastic year. It was fun to be a fan.
Yeah, absolutely. So you touched on that rivalry, and that was something you also made mention of in your recent article for Reckless Challenge. You kind of made that sound like that rivalry will now kind of dissolve a little bit with this partnership coming to light.
It kind of has to. Under the terms of the agreement between MLS and USL Pro, once you have a team that's affiliated, an MLS team that's affiliated with a USL Pro team, that team no longer competes in the MLS Reserve League.
Mm-hmm.
So the home-and-home series that we had last year against Columbus necessarily can't happen this year because there won't be a reserve team to compete against.
Right.
We still can go play them in the U.S. Open Cup, perhaps, but I understand that the Open Cup tries to push those matchups as far down the road as possible with regard to an MLS club and their affiliated USL Pro club. And even at that, now that we've got this partnership, it's going to feel less like playing a local rival than it will a big brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a really valid point. And having gone to one of the Crew Dayton Dutch Lion Reserve League matches last year, I thought it was a really entertaining affair from, not only a footballing standpoint, but also the fans that Columbus brought down even to catch the game when it was in Dayton. So that will be something that's missed, but I think there will be opportunities, obviously, in the Open Cup to talk about it, but even a rivalry that's kind of existing just because of the whole Eddie Gavin affair that we started off the phone call with. So
yeah.
I think there's still room for it, but I agree with you. It's going to come in different ways than it had in the last season.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just hope that the Dutch Lions can advance far enough to where we might be able to meet the Crew in the Open Cup in the coming years.
Yeah.
All right. Chad Hollingsworth, you can follow him at Chad Hall. That's Chad and then HOLL on Twitter. Check him out at recklesschallenge.net. Chad, man, thanks for coming on.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it.
All right,
Merry
man.
Christmas.
All right,
Yeah,
Merry
you
Christmas.
too, man. See ya.
All right, let's kind of look forward. If you're probably listening to this right now, it's either Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, which means we're right around our favorite holiday, Boxing Day.
Best day of the year.
Full slate of games.
Yep.
However, only one of them is worth watching.
Yeah.
12:30, I believe it's on NBC something.
Yeah.
And it's City, and it's Liverpool, and it's for all the marbles for the next 3 days.
Exactly 3 days. So quick turnaround between this and the weekend fixtures, but this is definitely one of those days of the year that, much like we talked about this last week on the pod, it's kind of like Thanksgiving here in the U.S.
Yeah, and we're going to deal with it again next week.
Yeah.
They'll be playing games on New Year's Day.
Yes, they will.
I believe Liverpool's got a decent one. Is that their United match?
I think it might be.
Oof.
So
this weekend, though, Liverpool again. They got Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
So Liverpool, you toot your horn that you're in first place. You got two heavyweights coming to town.
Yep.
And by coming to town, I mean you are going to their places.
So not coming to town.
Yeah.
You're going to their towns.
As we learned with Manchester City, that's not a good deal. Going to the Etihad sucks.
Yes.
Also, of course, Jose Mourinho's record at Stamford Bridge speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
So a tough task here heading into the new year for Liverpool.
Yep. So enjoy the top of the table for now. You
Yeah.
may not be there in a couple of days' time.
And for all of us, enjoy this time. We got a lot of matches coming up. We got, again, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and then again on New Year's. And bringing it right around on weekend, I think, starts some other stuff. I think that would be FA Cup.
Yep.
Get ready for it.
We're going to have a lot to talk about next week.
This is when the schedules start getting pretty jammed up with football.
And Arsene Wenger starts complaining about it.
Yeah.
So hang on for that as well.
Yeah. Why don't you work on that zipper and stop complaining?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Merry Christmas. Enjoy your Boxing Day.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Kwanzaa. That starts on Boxing Day as well.
Yeah, and we'd wish you a happy Hanukkah, but
That was a
it's
month
already
ago.
done. Yeah,
that was
so
a month ago.
yeah, so whatever you may be celebrating, thanks very much for listening from Wrong Side of the Pond. Hey, if you're into retro Spurs shirts,
Got a contest.
Yeah, I got a contest out on the blog. Friends from Campo Retro, purveyors of fine classic football shirts, are giving away a Tottenham shirt on the blog. So definitely go out and check that out. Look at an opportunity for you to win a free personalized retro shirt.
So this company basically recreates retro jerseys.
They do. So if you're looking for some old classic stuff for me, I'd be looking at, something like a Glenn Hoddle shirt, celebrating the fact that we haven't hired him as our manager. That may be a great way of celebrating some classic Spurs. So definitely go out and take a look at that if you're interested in them. Even if you don't win, you'll be gifted a special discount to their shop. So
there you go.
Take a look at that one for you.
So you win just for trying.
So a holiday treat from Wrong Side of the Pond.
All right, guys.
Talk to you later.
Merry Christmas.